Hello everyone, and welcome back to Occult Perspectives. Your host, Tyler Smith here. What I do on this channel is we go over occult research. We talk about various topics such as Freemasonry, ceremonial magic, Kabbalah, the Tree of Life, all of these sorts of things. So if that is something you are interested in, please subscribe to the channel if you are not already, and that way you can get more notifications of when I am posting information like this. So let's get into it. So I did a video earlier today, and I wanted to do another one. I wanted to talk a little bit about some information that I got while channeling Lilith, or at least sitting with the energies of Lilith. And something I've noticed with a lot of these darker energies is they're a lot denser than the angelic energies. So in a way, I find them almost more rooting to the earth or the material plane in a lot of ways, whereas the angelic energies kind of transcend you and it makes you feel light and almost like airborne. But it's a much airy vibe, I guess I could say, whereas the demons definitely are denser, and it almost takes a while to get acclimated to their energies. So with that said, being said, let me know what you all think when it comes to different, spiritual energies and densities and those sorts of things. So the energies of Lilith, I was meditating, with the sigil and a red candle, just a really simple setup, and just allowing to see what, her energy, had to offer, as far as just intuition. No real ritual. I'm very new at a lot of this stuff. My usual background is more in like Golden Dawn type ceremonial magic material, such as the lesser banishing ritual, the pentagram, lesser invoking ritual, the pentagram, lesser banishing ritual, the hexagram, like middle pillar, all that stuff. That's more my background. But I've started changing my practices and things, really just taking a step back, but working a little bit more with spiritual invocation of one spirit at a time, whether it be the angelic, the positive polarity, or the negative polarity. Just remember, these are different degrees or densities. It's not that one's good or one's evil. They play different roles in the grand scheme of things. So the demons being of the more negative polarity, more that degree. You could almost say that the demons are more primordial in their nature, and they're almost like, I've heard said before that they are like the earlier versions of the angels. Because remember, the angels are like our future versions of ourselves, is what I've been intuitively told. So it's kind of like your higher self. They are aspects of our higher selves, certain archetypes or aspects of that. So they're just different degrees of existence than the demons. But the demons tend to be more, I would call them primordial, or I don't even want to use the word like prehistoric, but just primordial, like older in a sense. But that's kind of a misleading way to look at it as well. So I recommend that you study more on the polarities of angels and demons and how they function. I've talked about it a little bit in previous videos. Because a lot of people just think the angels are just pure love and light, which they do bring that, but they also have an overly righteous aspect to them as well, to the point where you almost just, especially Archangel Michael's energy, it's kind of that it can be overly righteous to other people, but really what it is he's being a catalyst for your evolution in such a way that it's a fiery way. It's like a warrior and you resonate that, when you're evoking Michael, and that energy can come off strong, and it may create a strong discord between you and other energies depending on where you are and what you're doing at the time. They can kind of clash in a way, because a lot of people, are not, especially if they're not practitioners of any kind, they're not conscious. They usually don't consciously have any like angelic energies. So I would say most people are ruled by demonic energies, but unconsciously. It's the demons are more controlling them rather than you trying to respect and learn. That's more what I'm doing, is I'm just trying to not bullshit these energies. Literally just be open to receiving, be open to learning. And because remember, these spirits, kind of going back to the theme I forgot to mention in the last video, the all-seeing eye, is it's omnipresent and it's all-seeing. So it already sees and knows. It already sees the grand scheme. So these spirits can see right through you, because they're higher. They represent certain particular aspects. We could say higher or lower, but it's definitely, they're so powerful that they have such a wide range of perception, and that kind of goes into line with the all-seeing eye. But anyway, getting into the subject with Lilith, the question that I brought forth was, and a lot of the times these answers come forth in a way that your spirit already knows. Like, it already knows this information. Like, it's really just further clarification and maybe just a little bit more insight. But you're like, wow, deep down I really kind of knew that already. That happens a lot, I find, with a lot of these things. It's just pulling that information out of you that's already within. But my question was, where does the desire, like, where's the root? Where's the root of the desire to, especially, the procreation of the human race, all of these really primal aspects of ourselves, like reproduction and, what some people, I wouldn't say like love in its purest, highest exalted state. We could almost talk like more the carnal, sexual appetite, carnal desire. But really just, where does this desire, this original primal desire come from? Where is this? Like, why does it exist in humans on a conscious for some and unconscious or subconscious level that's controlling them? What is the root? Like, why? Why the need? Where does this drive, this primal, really, sex is connected to more than just sex itself. It is the powerhouse. It is, you saw on the tree of life, and that's the original astral abode of humanity as well. And it's the now present astral realm which exists, I'll say, quote, above Mount Coop, the physical realm. But what came in for me, the message was going back to the Ayin, because remember, Lilith, there's I can't remember which language it is, but it's like Lilith or something. It's a smaller abbreviation of Lilith, and it's in a different language. It's one of the original words they used for her, I believe. It's not Hebrew, it's a different, some kind of Semitic language of some kind. I'm not sure. But she means darkness. So, and remember, Lilith represents the original moon energy before it reflected the glory of the sun. Because she was, the whole story, we've already talked about this. I'm not going to go over all this again. We'll go over parts of it in this video, but the whole escaping from Eden because Adam, would not allow her to be an equal, and it was this solar patriarchal force that was just wanting to control. So now she's doomed to only being able to reflect the glory of the sun. The moon reflects the light of the sun. But the original moon is darkness. Now there's the dark side of the moon, which has correspondences with Gamaliel on the tree of death. But the original moon, dark in its aspect, she is the dark moon goddess, and the primal dark chaos corresponds with Lilith as well, as we talked about in even just the last video. The womb of the universe, the dark mother, the chaos. Even Madame Blavatsky talks about this in The Secret Doctrine. All of these things, So if we look at the Ayin, we've talked about the Ayin a lot on this channel, the A-I-N. It's that third outermost veil on the tree of life, which is the no thing, but which is the void. It's the womb, the dark mother, in a sense, of course. But within it holds all potentiality. So it is in essence not no thing. It is all potential, but it's sitting there resting, and it can be manifest into anything. It's all potentiality. And as I've explained before, all manifested reality thus far that's ever been manifested is but just a sliver of this Ein, this no thing. And that's, Lilith, rests in that energy as well. It's a primordial, dark, feminine, chaotic energy. Sorry, my mind kind of sidetracked there for a second. So within this, and it goes into physics too, in even in between the atoms, in the smallest space of molecules and such, I forget exactly how it's explained, but in that quote unquote empty space, there is more energy than all, it's so much energy. It's in that void, quote unquote void. See the Kabbalistic connections with science, when it's viewed from the correct lens or perspective, they coincide. So it's all that potential manifested reality. It's as unyet manifested when it's in the void, but it can be anything it wants to be. It can manifest into anything. So the answer I got from Lilith was, in this void, that's where the desire for all of this, the unconscious desires for all of these things come from. Sex, all of that. It's the desire to create more. In the void, it's dark. It's empty. There's nothing. But remember, at the beginning of Genesis, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters, and God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And that's where the light shines in. That's the masculine coming in to, quote unquote, for lack of a better term, impregnate this darkness so that it brings forth manifestation into this Ein. The Ein Sof is the limitless all, and then the Ein Sof Or is the limitless light. So that's the more masculine principle, but it all starts with the dark mother. So that's why Lilith has all these roots to this type of energy and this archetype, this idea, which pervades all existence, really. So there's all this potential for being manifested, and if it's just sitting there in the void being unmanifested, you're just sitting there with all the potential, which is power. That's ultimate power, if you could be and do anything. But until it manifests as something, then it's not having activity. So that's where the desire of God, creation, all comes in. And Lilith showed me that was basically where the root of all this desire for wanting manifestation comes from. And we know the objective universe as being universe A, whereas the backside of the Klapoth, the darker realms, that's universe B. It's the creation of the new universe that the adept, the true adept, creates and walks into. A new universe as that, you being the source, And the objective universe that it is now formed is based on false integrations of this primal chaos, and it hasn't really manifested the way we need it to, because the shadow was not fully developed. And that's why people go through Klapothic initiations to really traverse that whole realm before they work on the objective reality. And then once they've reached that state of initiation, then they're masters of the physical realm in that sense. They can bring creation and destruction as needed in perfect balance and equilibrium with natural law. And then this goes back to the story of when Lilith left the Garden of Eden, because that was the 1%. You look at the graph of the universe, 95 to 98% or whatever is dark matter, and then there's the 1%, which is atoms and all that stuff. So the manifested reality, it was the perfect. It was the garden. It was the utopia, the Garden of Eden. It almost reminds me of the Kokiri Forest. And if you've ever played the Ocarina of Time, it was this perfect paradise, but everyone's naive. They don't really know. They're in a childlike state. So eventually there's basically where the evolution has to come in, and that's where the serpent and the quote-unquote fall, or we could call it the awakening of Lucifer, comes in. That the Lucifer Da'at, the serpent that awakens that force within man, which awakens him to his true divinity and potential. You know, that's the promise of the serpent. So this whole garden, the reason she ran from it is because she realized it was a matrix. You know, she realized that even though the darkness and the light attempted creation, there's a lot that has to be created first so that you can realize it's like there's mistakes that are made. Even the Klipother shells, as they're known, it's translated as shells in Hebrew, those are the husks, those are the leftover parts from the initial creations of the world. So that's why we say it's the old, archaic, prehistoric, if you will, primal aspects of the universe. And it's important to understand that stuff. So all this information from the original first worlds, a lot of it's dark stuff. You know, a lot of the times it takes false creations. It takes a false utopia to make us realize that, okay, now we have to evolve and grow. So Lilith was brave enough. You know, Adam was being tyrannical in a sense, really. I mean, let's face it. And so she left the garden, and she left that perfect utopia to create Universe B, to have Universe B formed, because she realized that the objective reality was not really the desired end creation. I mean, it played its role, evolutionary role up until that point, but then there was more that had to come about, more that had to be learned. So that's pretty much the message I wanted to convey in this video. I hope that resonates with some of you. And I'll go ahead and wrap the video up there. If there's more things I could say about it, but that pretty much is the sum of that experience and what I learned in that moment. But I already kind of knew, understood those aspects. So as Universe B being the new creation, we learn from the mistakes of the past, quote unquote. We could see them as mistakes, but really they were just stepping stones in our journey of understanding. So I will go ahead and end this video there. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up, a like. If you're not already subscribed and this information appeals to you, if it's confusing for you, maybe go back and watch some of my prior videos, so you can get the full context of where I'm coming from. If you're not familiar with all of these terms, that's okay too. But I think a lot of you, there's a lot of people out there who are way more advanced than me. Like, I'm just kind of sharing some of this information and viewpoints, and because I think there's more people that want to hear about it, and talk about it. And, it's the urge of this desire, this gnosis. It really changes us, and it's merging us into our highest potential and the best selves that we can be. And we're not always just complacent, as Lilith was, and can't be happy with the false paradise. We have to be genuine. We have to be real and move forward and move upwards or downwards, depending on what the case may be. So thank you all for watching, and that pretty much wraps it up. So peace, and until next time.